Hello there, and welcome to Healing the World Together. My name is Victoria Dio, and today I have got a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful friend, Nicola Rowley. Hello, Nicola.
Hello. Thank you for having me with you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Now, Nicola is a PR strategist, a journalist, and a storytelling expert. She's worked in the industry for 30 years. You don't even look old enough to have worked somewhere for 30 years. Can I just say that?
It's over 30 years now, which is really quite concerning.
But most importantly, she helps business owners and brands get seen safely through strategic storytelling. I love that. And I've read your book. It is incredible. And I can't wait to have this conversation with you.
It's
So,
always lovely to talk to you. You know that.
I know, darling. And I've not seen you for so long. So should we just get started? Because I've got so many questions for you. So obviously you're now doing storytelling. I remember years ago I said to you, when you write, like every sales page I've seen of yours, I want to grab it because literally you just tell a story. And I don't know anybody that writes like you. I just want to say that straight away. So thank you for giving us all the words. But I have this question and I say, what do you see in business owners who are brilliant at what they do but aren't being seen or recognized?
It's about the connection. So
Yeah,
it's about connecting with others. And the easiest way, I'm going to say this, the easiest way to connect with someone is through telling stories. And
yeah.
it doesn't necessarily be your main story, but there will be things that have happened or incidents that have, unfolded in front of you, and you're sitting there thinking, hang on a second, I could make that the basis of a way to communicate with people, to show them a lesson, to show them how it is that I can help them. And through doing that, as people get to know you more, they'll
Mm,
resonate more with you.
yeah,
So that's how it works. It's a beautiful thing, but it's driving trust at the heart of storytelling. It's all about driving trust
mm,
and being able to really act as a bridge to help people come across into your world. And when we tell a story, what we have to remember is that stories are 22 times more memorable than just facts alone. And
yeah.
if you are a business owner,
Mm,
you're selling a service or you're selling a product. And so people make decisions in terms of what they're going to buy,
yeah.
not through kind of like, oh yes, that's the practical thing and all the rest of it. They buy on an emotional level. You know what it's like. You'll see something, but it will resonate with you on a completely different level. And you might, leave your house or you might be scrolling on the internet and you were not thinking of buying something at all. But if someone says something or they tell you a story in a way that really connects with you, you're much more likely to make that emotional investment in them
mm.
because we are hardwired for stories. And it's part of the reason that I became a journalist in the first place is journalists are the original storytellers.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the journalist in you, I mean, how I got to know you is the fact that you're just great at bringing other journalists together and getting people to have their story told, by getting them in different publications and what have you, which I know you just do an incredible job doing. So I guess people do know their story because the journalists that you choose are normally people that can really pull that out. So what do you think stops people telling their story, even when they know that it can change everything for them? So, for example, you may have somebody who's made it to press a number of times and they may have had opportunities from that, but when they come back into their own space, they stop telling their story.
Fear. Pure and simple. It
Yeah.
comes down to fear, fear of judgment, fear of what others will say, fear of are they going to be called out? Like there's so many kind of things that are at play. And for some, there will
Mm,
also be that little annoying voice in the back of the head that'll be saying, "Who are you to be doing this?" I mean, I'd always argue that you flip that on its head and say, "Who am I not to be doing this?" Because if I'm not doing this, I'm hiding my gift, and
mm,
I'm not going out there and helping people in a way that I can actually help them. And I think for me, the way I look at the world is that we're actually here as a collective and we're here to help others and we build other people up. And that is how you have the greatest impact when you make the most of the gift that you're given and you go out there and you tell people how it is that you can help them. And then you go and help them, that then changes not only their lives, but the lives of other people around them because they see the change in that person.
mm.
That's what it's all about. But it's so easy to kind of give in to the fear
Yeah.
that, actually, I'm going to be perceived in this way, or, this is going to happen as a result of me putting my head above the parapet too much. And there are so many instances right now in the online space and the offline space where when people have been quite opinionated about something or
Mm,
they've, put their hand up and said, "This is what I believe in,"
mm,
it's not necessarily been met with the best kind of
mm.
reaction. And so as a result, other people will be watching that and they will hold back like
Yeah.
100% because telling your story, it takes courage. Let's
Mm,
face it, putting yourself out there takes a lot of self-belief, knowing that you have got this, knowing that your messaging is exactly where it needs to be, you're reaching the right people. There's a lot of things at play. It's almost like a jigsaw puzzle that you need to kind of put all of the pieces together. And right at the heart, that one missing piece, as it were, for so many people is the fear of just taking that first step, just making that initial move to be able to get themselves out there and to keep, telling people, inspiring people, motivating others around them
mm.
on that journey.
Yeah, do you know what? I see storytelling as very healing. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on here and stuff because I've gone through my own journey of storytelling and what have you and stuff and I find that when I really connect to my intuition and my core, that's when the stories do come out when I'm not thinking about who's going to see it or I'm just literally just focusing on this feeling of a story that I want to tell and why I want to tell it and everything else. I find that I flow more than ever else. Do you find it's healing for your clients? And do you have an example of someone who wrote a story and it completely changed their lives?
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, I'm going to have lots of stories to be able to tell you, but I think part of what you were saying there, where stories just come to you where you're not overthinking, we
Mm,
are too much, we're all guilty of this, of being in our heads
yes.
and not enough in our hearts, because actually the true wisdom comes from our hearts. That's
Mm,
where it all flows from. But yeah, I mean, my favorite client in terms of the real impact
mm,
of changing other people's lives, making a huge difference in the world, would be Mira Naran. So I
mm,
worked with Mira from 2020. She came to me, and initially she didn't really understand what she needed from me. She'd been told that I was the person that could help her.
yeah.
And I always remember that first telephone call, and it was late at night because I think she was having to deal with bedtime. I was dealing with bedtime, and we came together afterwards, and we were just chatting on the phone. And we were on the phone for a good couple of hours, and by the end of it, she was just like, I can't work with anyone else. I mean, I just know that I need you. I don't understand
Mm,
how it all fits together and how it works, but I know that I need your guidance. And for those listening that don't know Mira's story, there probably should be a bit of a trigger warning just to begin with. But Mira lost her 8-year-old son Dev in a smart motorway
Oh,
accident in 2018. And she took her grief and being at rock bottom, and she decided she wanted to campaign for safer drivers on safer roads. And that campaign, when she came to me, she'd proposed a 19-point plan to the government. She'd gone to see the Transport Secretary and she'd taken in there a 19-point plan. I mean, the fact that she even had
yeah.
the clarity to be able to pull together a 19-point plan that should be
Mm,
followed and everything else is just, it's mind blowing. And the government said we can adopt 18 of those 19 points. We won't be able to do the 19th. And the 19th point was to adopt AEB braking, which is when you're going along in a car and the car will automatically apply the brakes if it perceives that you're going to have an accident.
okay.
And she wanted that to be called Dev's Law. Now, we'll fast forward through this story so it doesn't take too long, but within 10 months of us working together, she was at the Palace getting an MBE
No.
for services to road safety. We very strategically made sure that the government had to sit up and take notice of what it was that she was doing. She was being quoted in Parliament. She's a trustee for Break, which is a very well-known road safety charity. But all of the things that we were doing
Mm,
throughout our time together were working towards Dev's Law coming in. And only a few months ago, the Transport Secretary announced AEB braking has been adopted, the Highways Code is changed, investment like multiple hundreds of millions
mm.
she's managed to get that put aside for road safety to be invested in road safety. And Dev's Law is now a reality. And she has worked tirelessly over the last 7 years since we've been working together to really make sure that those changes, all 19 of them, which will change each and every single one of our lives. The
100%.
Highways Code has been rewritten for all of the proposals and everything else that she put forward. And that for me is real true impact when you can take something from a place of lived experience, lived pain, and
Mm.
turn it on its head and show what is truly possible. And I think she really epitomizes the human spirit in such a beautiful way.
That's amazing. And you know what? As you're telling me this story, I'm thinking of all the other people who I know who you have managed to get them to tell their story and who are changing the world as well. And and I really hope that you can acknowledge how much change you create. I don't think I don't think that you do. And if you do, then we need to scream it more because just telling that story has made me realize that, I could name names, but there's so many people who have told this story because of you. So thank you. Because it's not just a story, it's a story that changes the world. Now, you talk about um helping people get seen safely. What does that mean?
Oh, it's everything. And I think a lot of other PRs don't focus on this, but
Yeah.
unless you feel, I mean, it's part of the thing, isn't it? It's that
Mm.
fear, overcome that fear because you're worried that a journalist is going to take what you're going to say out of context, that you're going to have a headline that's going to be splashed somewhere that's not
Mm.
going to be favorable, that's going to make things not feel safe at all.
Yeah.
And for me, it's about connecting the right people with the right journalists so that, when I say the right journalists, I mean journalists that genuinely care when
Mm.
it comes to someone's story, taking that time and compassion and listening to what it is that someone has to say, where they're at, and just being able to just guide them safely. But then always know that the safety net is me. The ultimate safety net is me, my team, that we will always make sure where we can that someone is protected as much as possible. And, we've had incidents where a journalist has gone rogue, or we've gone to someone and they've passed the story on to someone else, and then someone has gone out there, but 9 times out of 10 we've then been able to go, that's not okay, and get everything changed. And equally, I was working with the chaps at the Mary Rose a few years back, and we had a journalist that went completely rogue. Like, they gave it to someone that was, I don't know, I think they were on work experience, whatever they were doing. They were trying to prove a point about something.
Right.
How on earth you can ever say anything um, not positive about the Mary Rose, I do not know, because it is the most amazing museum and experience that you can ever
Mm.
go to. But they did, and they did this, and within 2 hours, I had the whole thing taken down. A positive piece went up. We changed everything and we turned it all around. And that is the difference between someone that can just be like, oh, I'm a PR and I can help you, and someone who can actually go in there and actually knows what to do in a crisis, and can do it, like,
Mm.
strategically, to ensure that the best outcome is there for their clients. So yeah, safety is of paramount importance, because our reputations are
Mm.
hard won. We
Mm.
work really hard to build businesses and do what it is that we do so we can help more people in the world. But all it takes is one negative headline or one negative piece, and that can stay with you, especially if it's online. That could stay with you for ages. So you have to protect your reputation at all costs.
Okay. So you've given us instances of what unsafe looks like, but could you just give us like maybe two or three examples so that if somebody's listening to this, they can go, oh, that's not safe. That's not safe. So what does unsafe look like?
I would say headlines that would would scream, like, in the face of what it is that you do. So I had an incident where, with Mira, like, we had a journalist that had come on board. We
Mhm.
very, very carefully managed it in terms of, this is what we agree to. If you're going to speak to her, you know, do not do it in any way. We want to be able to see what is written. Um, and the headline was appalling.
Right,
Like, it was absolutely appalling. And I
right.
rang the journalist and I said, "Where are you?" And she said, "I'm in Tesco's." I said, "Well, no, you're not. Get in your car and get back to wherever you're near a computer, because that headline needs to change right now." And she changed it within an hour. And she did
Mm.
leave Tesco's immediately and then go back, bless her. Um,
Yeah.
because obviously you've got to, as a PR
Mm.
strategist, you've got to look after your clients and have their reputations. Like, you've got to protect them as much as possible. Um, it rarely happens, I have to say. I did work on a story years ago where it was basically, a client had come to me and she had organized this amazing photo shoot with a celebrity.
Right.
And then the photographer kind of went a bit rogue and sent across some photos that hadn't been approved by the client. And the client, who was the celebrity, was not happy at all, and was having a go at my client and saying, "I'm not happy. Why is this picture out there? I didn't approve this," and everything else. And I just went in and got the picture taken down. And then the celebrity was like, "How did she do that?" how did that even happen? Because
happen.
I always ask for things to change and they never do. But it's just understanding how everything works and how it all fits together.
Mm,
So it's in instances like that, it's just about always having that, you know, that second pair of eyes, that always that awareness of, okay, what's being said, how is that coming across, how is that going to be perceived,
yeah.
and then you can manage it effectively.
I always remember when I had my publication. I don't know how many publications I've had, but I remember you saying to me, if you don't like what you read, let me know. You were always there. You're like, if you don't like what you read, if the journalist has written what you don't like, let me know. You're like, I will get that changed. And I always remember that because to me, that showed that I had a lot of support because normally it's just you and the journalist having a conversation. So if you're not careful, like you say, you could get like a very triggering headline or something that has nothing to do with you. One of the questions I also want to ask is that you work with people who tell their story outwardly, and I work with what's happening underneath. So, what have you noticed happens when someone's story doesn't match who they really are?
That is a very, very good question. I don't know. Um, I would always like to think that I'm quite intuitive as well in
Yeah.
terms of nowhere near your level, obviously. Um, but in terms of kind of being able to pick up on situations, I don't know whether I've had anyone that hasn't been
Mm,
fully themselves and has put on a mask about how they are or how they want to be perceived, and then it has changed afterwards. It's part of the reason that I always do story sessions with people right at the very beginning. So
yeah.
I learned this the hard way in when I was working in PR for the first time many moons ago. We're talking back like 2008.
Mm,
And we would get given clients, and so they would have had a conversation with a managing partner, for instance,
mm,
in the agency, and then signed the contract. And then we were assigned as the team to be working on that project or with that person. But at no point did we actually, before we were even going in and pitching things, we'd know, like we'd have like, this is the overview. But we hadn't actually sat down and spoken to that client about what would really matter to them, what their story was. We hadn't really deep dived into all of that.
mm,
And so as a consequence, we're pitching like pitching machines. We're going out there and speaking to lots of journalists.
yeah.
But journalists work through stories, and it it becomes so much harder when you're trying to do that, but nothing is landing.
Yeah.
So it's a very difficult thing to do. So that is why I probably haven't experienced what you were talking about, because I spend time with everyone that I eventually work with, and I won't take anyone on as a client unless I either know that their story is really strong, like it's an immediate, like, yeah,
Mm,
that makes sense. I'm like 100% I want to work with you one to one because it's really unusual what you do, or you've got a really strong story, or I have gone through a story session with them. And sometimes with people, if I'm not quite sure where their story is and I need to unpick it, I will do that as part of the story session before I would make a decision about working with them, because I think otherwise what can happen is sometimes people know that they've got stories, they've got great stories,
mm,
but they and I've had this happen a couple of times where people have gone, I've got this great story, or I've got this, or I've got that, but they don't want to tell it. And it's really
yeah.
important that you don't ever share anything that you don't want to share.
Mm,
But equally, if you are looking to get out there and be known for what it is you do, you can't just expect journalists to be writing about your business per se. They want the story behind
Mhm.
it and the journey that you've been on or something that you've experienced. And you can get the messaging in there about the business, but you can't expect them to write a puff piece just about your business.
Yeah.
So, and I've had that a couple of times where people have just been like, no, I don't want to do this, or I've got this
Yeah.
great story, but I don't want to do that. So can you just focus on this? And you're left going, it's not a story. I'm really sorry. That is not the story that the journalists are going to be interested in. You're not going to get coverage for that. If you want to talk about that, you'll get coverage.
That's really interesting because again, I've worked with you, so I've seen some of your what's the word, your structure play out, and it's really true. You'd never take somebody just for the sake of it and then put them in front of a journalist. Like you're very, you curate the relationship very, very well, which is quite impressive. So again, thanks for providing that safety. Now, for someone who's listening right now, and they know that they've got really something important to say, they know that, but they don't know where to start. What would be the first step for them?
To have a story session. I think that has to be the fundamental, like understanding what your story is, how it will like really kind of like, which publications you'd ideally like to be in and how that can be curated then to be able
Mm,
to match both.
okay. And what are you focusing on right now? I mean, you need to tell people about your book, of course, because it is an amazing book. But what else are you focusing right now?
So, Impact Live 2026
Mm.
is happening on the 23rd of June. So that's my big focus right now. We've only got 3 months until it happens. And I know that you're going to be joining us, so I'm very excited about that. Um, yeah, that's the main focus. And then Impact Live is the not to be missed media connection event of the year.
It's
And
an amazing event, isn't it?
it's an amazing event,
Yeah.
but I think because it is so story-led and
Hmm.
it's heart-led, like everyone that gets up on that stage, there's a story to tell, and there's something for everyone in that room to be able to really pick up
Mm,
on and listen to and get nuggets of wisdom. But it's also about like the connection that you will get in the room, and that it's just been the start of so many amazing relationships where people have secured clients, they've secured funding for things. We had an instance where a lady was on stage saying that she was desperate to find accommodation for her summer camp. Someone stepped in from the audience and said,
yeah, I
"That'll
remember
be
that.
me. I can provide all of that."
Yeah.
That is what Impact Live is all about. It's about collectively working together to make things better in the world. And I think right now we could all do with a bit more love and a bit more kindness, and Impact Live is where it's at. And then alongside Impact Live, it's Impact the Mastermind. Um, and Impact the Mastermind is it's just such a beautiful place. I
Mm.
can't even begin to tell you. We have ladies in there who are achieving incredible things, and we have they describe it as like being like it's their extended family.
Oh,
It's so dog's gonna start barking. Someone's at the door. Um, it's like being part of an extended family because it is so, so special. So I'm really, really particular about who comes into that space because that extended family needs to be, again, protected and held and kept safe. But needless to say, they get a lot of love and a lot of guidance and yeah, and a lot of kind of time with me as well.
that's amazing. And I know again, I've seen you do it. I've seen you in action. I've worked with you, so I know exactly what that looks like. So finally, if there is one story that people need to stop telling themselves, what would that be?
They need to stop saying, I can't, and turn that into I can,
Yeah.
because my favorite quote is there's no such word as impossible, the word
Mm.
itself. says I'm possible. And we need to live with that in our hearts every single moment of the
Mm,
day, as well as believing at any single moment something amazing is going to happen. And we don't know. This is the
no.
beauty of life. We never know when something amazing is going to happen. But if you start living
Mm,
believing that any second something amazing is going to come along, guess what? The likelihood is that all of these opportunities are going to start appearing because you are approaching things in a much more open way. So rather than closing yourself down to opportunities, open yourself up. And
mm,
I'm sure there are people that have done the years of yes and things like that, where they've just said, yes, I'm
yeah.
going to do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we have to live our lives, you know. Opportunities are coming along. There's always like messages that are being sent your way. It's up
Mm.
to you whether or not you open your eyes and you actually see the messages from the universe that are being sent your way to enable you to step into that next level of who you're meant to be.
Oh, Nicola, thank you so much. That was amazing. And what's the name of your book? Oh my God, the name of your
Well,
book.
there's two books. So there's five books, but the main two books, the main non-fiction
Yeah.
books, there's The Power of PR
Yes.
and there's Story Seller, which I co-wrote with the fabulous Arif Isagan,
Who's
who
amazing.
is a global sales expert. And Story Seller is all about taking storytelling and then being able to combine it with sales so that you become the best possible story seller that you can be.
It's an incredible book. Nicola, thank you so much. And we'll speak to you soon. Take care.